Corey Jones, Safety Man, safetyman.co, at Safety Man on all your social media. Stay safe and be ready. A little while ago, I made a video and released it on a surveillance detection route, which is based on counter surveillance driving. What is that? It's basically, there's a few steps and a few levels in it. This was basically level 1. It's a driving method to determine if a person is following you. You could also use this while walking or biking, but this generally was explained in a way that if you're driving, a way for you to detect surveillance. So it's called a surveillance detection route. Later in this video, I'll give you a few tips on what to do if you determine or suspect that an individual or a specific vehicle is following you. So why did I make this video? And who did I make it for? We'll answer the second question first. Who did I make this video for? This specific video series is made for survivors of domestic violence, specifically people who are recently away from an abusive situation and are still fearful of their abuser, or are currently in a situation where they are fearful of their abuser and their abuser may be stalking them, or even someone who hasn't been in a relationship and they have someone who is stalking them. Maybe the person wants to be in a relationship with them and can't, or is rebuffed, and so forth. So we have that specific population of people that I want this video for. Now, these are generally women who are the victims or the survivors in these types of situations. So you'll hear me say she, and the abusers typically are he. Obviously, they can go either way on that. Having been a law enforcement officer for 27 years, I've investigated domestic violence situations with all types of relationships. But for the purposes of me using pronouns to get this video across to the intended audience the easiest way, you'll hear me generally refer to the victim or the survivor as she, and the abuser or suspect or stalker as he. It applies regardless. So that's who I made the video for. Why did I make the video? First, I didn't make the video for them. When I originally sought this training about 15 years ago as a uniformed police officer, it was based on a specific incident. There was a law enforcement agency in New Jersey which, together with other law enforcement agencies, encountered a known gang member. The known gang member attacked a uniformed police officer and attempted to kill him, creating serious bodily injury. Through investigation, additional law enforcement agencies located that suspect, identified that suspect, and placed him in a known gang house in Camden, New Jersey. They executed a search warrant with a SWAT team because he had demonstrated violence in the past, was known to carry weapons, was a convicted felon, and this is the whole reason that this was important. He and his gang had issued a bounty on the then very young social media. They issued a bounty that any gang member who assaulted or killed a uniformed law enforcement officer in New Jersey would be rewarded. So we have all that information, and now we are going to arrest this individual. During the process of arrest, the individual assaulted the law enforcement officers and was ultimately shot and killed. The shooting was ruled justified. So based on that, the bounty increased and stayed active for quite some time. In my role as the SWAT team commander and one of the lead trainers in officer safety and survival in my agency and within the county, I reached out to some 3-letter agencies in the federal government to find out the best way to do surveillance detection routes. Because my goal was, I did not want one of my officers or me to bring a potential suspect to my home with my defenseless family. I didn't really want to be assaulted on the way home, but I figured I carry a firearm, I'm trained. If it was going to happen, I'd rather it happen on the side of the road, not at my house. Either come to the station, or let's do it on the side of the road where my family is not in danger. My neighbors are not in danger. So I learned the surveillance detection route. I practiced it a few times. I developed it so I could teach it to my officers all in a period of a few days. And then I taught the class to all of my officers the best way to not bring danger to yourself, whether it be in this specific situation where there's a bounty on just general police officers, or if it's a incident where we arrest somebody or engage with somebody who is so angry they then come back to the station and want to follow us home. We did have that. We had somebody who we arrested. They came back to the station, waited for us, and went to assault one of our officers with a baseball bat in the parking lot. He was not successful in that. He was rearrested, and this time he went to jail. So that's who the surveillance detection route was created for by me, and that's where I learned it and how I developed it. Then, further in my career, I became a liaison for domestic violence survivors. I would meet with the domestic violence response team volunteers. I would meet with survivors of domestic violence, and oftentimes I would meet with the abusers to determine why and what methods they were using to stalk, harass, or put fear into their victims. Based on that, one common request, one common fear that was pervasive in the victims of domestic violence was being stalked and being followed. Oftentimes, these survivors, quite often, almost all the time, these survivors are so fearful of their abuser, either based on what he is threatening to do, or what he has done in the past, or what they feel he is capable of doing. They are so fearful that they oftentimes change residences, they change jobs, they change vehicles. None of this is cheap. Right? Remember, they're coming out of a relationship potentially where now they have half the salary. They typically have children that they have to support, and they have to work. So they're doing all these steps to try to maintain some separation, some anonymity, and a peace of mind. So I developed the surveillance detection route further from just having officers be able to get home safely to be able to teach survivors of domestic violence how to do a surveillance detection route and why they should really practice that all the time. So a few tips to add on to the video that I hope you'll watch after this, which specifically watches me go on a surveillance detection route, are: if you are that fearful, if you have that much evidence or that much belief that your abuser or someone acting as his agent, somebody that he has asked to help him do this, it's got to be a really low person, right? If you're that fearful, then I want you to practice these steps. A, don't ever take the same route 2 days in a row from your home to your job, your daycare, your school, wherever you go often. Don't take the same route to and from, and don't take the same route 2 days in a row. Pick 3 or 4 routes, mainly just changing up the beginning 3 or 4 turns in each direction. That way, if someone is trying to follow you, your surveillance detection route is going to make them stand out even more. And we're going to make it a little bit harder, make them work harder, which is going to make it easier for us to locate them and identify them. So we don't take the same route to and from our locations every day. And then when we get to our location, we want to park in a safe, well-lit area. Again, based on how high the fear level is and how much evidence we have, we can have it set up where a security officer or a co-worker comes out and meets us in the parking lot and escorts us into the building. Another set of eyes. And again, we're looking for all those things we talk about in the surveillance detection route video, which I hope you'll watch after this. It'll be linked in the description, it'll be linked in the notes, and it'll pop up as soon as this video is over for you to click right on it. So that's number one, we don't take the same route twice. Number two, we want to let people know. We want to let people close to us know that we have this fear, that this is going on. Anytime we have something like this going on, let your best friends know. Let a trusted worker, co-worker, supervisor, human resources, let that person know. Let them know that this is happening. One, it gives you a little bit of peace of mind. So if you do have to take some outlandish way to get to work and it's going to cause you to be a minute or two late, or you have to take a different way to go to daycare to pick up your kids and it's going to be a little bit late, if we can let somebody know confidentially that we have this problem, they can extend us some grace and some courtesy. Okay, maybe we want to give them a call, put them on our speed dial and say, hey, I'm running late, I'm taking a crazy route because you know what I got going on, I'll be there in 5 minutes according to my GPS. So we want to have a plan, we want to let people know. That's going to help reduce our stress. It's going to have people act as our agent. So if I were going to follow somebody and I didn't know where they lived, but I knew where they worked, I would go to where they worked, wait for them to show up, identify their vehicle, and then try to follow them home, right? If I needed to find that out. So we need to think from both sides of the spectrum and practice these same techniques in both directions, right? We need to practice these same techniques to our job and then back home from our job or wherever we're going, daycare, school, friends, family, relatives, anything we're doing, we need to practice it in both directions. The other reason that we want to tell people on the other side, people at the school, people at the daycare, people at our job, is if they see a strange vehicle, we want to encourage them to be in the mindset that they're always reporting a strange vehicle to law enforcement. They're not going out to interdict the vehicle themselves. They're identifying it, capturing it on camera, cell phone from a safe location, and then reporting it to law enforcement to let law enforcement investigate it. Again, there's no better evidence than catching that abuser or someone acting as his agent in close proximity to where the survivor works, lives, picks up his or her kids, or has to do common routine activities. There's not much better evidence than that to apply for a restraining order or to initiate proceedings for a violation of a restraining order. So that's the reason, the method, and some of the things we want to do during a surveillance detection route. Who it's for, why it was made, what to do if we detect surveillance or someone following us during our route, and then how we can mitigate our fear and give us some more awareness and have other people acting on our side to help us. I pray and hope that you never have to do this. I also pray and hope that if you find yourself in this situation, that you can contact a professional to help you with this. If you reach out to me, I will direct you to 2 nonprofit groups in the state of New Jersey. This is South Jersey, but I'll help you find one anywhere you are that can specifically help you navigate the criminal justice system, help secure your home, and help teach you some defensive tactics and so forth to get you all the way squared away to mitigate your fear, maximize your ability to live and survive in this type of situation. Safetyman.co, @safetyman on all social media. And as always, stay safe and be ready.